Hey everybody, welcome to another Blast from the Past G.I.Joe Classified Edition. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Snake Eyes and Timber Alpha Commandos set. Now this came out in 2021 and was a fan channel exclusive, which means it was available at online retailers and such like that. In America, that would be like Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth and Dorkside Toys before they went under. And in the UK, we get these at our local stores like Props and Replica and Star Action Figures. And of course, they were available on Hasbro Pulse as well, but they weren't like readily available in stores like Walmart and Target and whatnot. So this is another. Actually, I think this was the first figure and pet set that was released for Classified. We've already taken a look at the Mutt and Junkyard box set, which had a similar package design, just a little updated since they went back to plastic packaging. This was the original look of the figure and pet packaging design from before they went to plastic free and then switched back to plastic packaging again. So, as you can see, we get another version of Snake Eyes, but this is actually the first one I've reviewed because I didn't get the other ones. This is the third version of Snake Eyes they released after the 00 that predated the start of the line. And then figure number 2 or 3. Yeah, 2. Figure number 2 after Roadblock. There have been other Snake Eyes released since then. They did a version 2 of this set. There's also been a retro Snake Eyes that's been released, and a Desert Commando Snake Eyes, and a Fortnite Snake Eyes. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with G.I.Joe, Snake Eyes is basically the signature character of the franchise. It didn't start out that way. I think they were trying to make Duke the signature character. That's why he's got like the most presence in the cartoon. Larry Hama famously didn't like Duke and didn't use him much in the comic, preferring to use Flint and Hawk. And he's really the one that made Snake Eyes the main character of G.I. Joe because he used him a lot in the comics, especially as they moved later and later through the series to the point where there were certain issues where Snake Eyes is the only one that appeared. Or at least he had the greatest amount of appearances. And he was featured on the cover quite a bit too, so that helped turn Snake Eyes into the main character. Snake Eyes is actually underutilized in the cartoon. They didn't really focus much on him at all, probably because he was mute. He never speaks, so that probably had a lot to do with it. But also his figure was popular because kids tend to like guys that look like this, so that had something to do with it as well, I imagine. If you've only seen the Snake Eyes Origins movie, then you probably assume that Snake Eyes is of Asian descent, but he was actually originally written and drawn as a Caucasian, so there's also that. He only appears as Asian in the film, and every other iteration that we see him in, he is Caucasian. Even in the cartoon, where he never takes his mask off, you can see his gloveless hands occasionally, and they were colored in as white rather than Asian. So this Snake Eyes is this set of Snake Eyes is my preferred version. He does a lot of ninja stuff as well. Like he started out as just like a regular commando, but then later on through the series, he became more and more ninja-fied, so to say. By the third version of his original A Real American Hero figure, he started coming with ninja weapons like a sword and nunchucks and whatnot. His first two versions were just guns, you know. Actually, I think the second version did come with a sword. So that's kind of where the figures started to alter a little bit, was with the second version. And the second version in the Real American Hero line is also the one that came with the wolf. So that's where we see Timber for the first time. Timber was a main character, at least as part of Snake Eyes' backstory in the comics. Although he didn't show up much in the cartoon, if at all. I can't remember if we saw him in the cartoon at all. It's been a long time since I saw the cartoon. But yeah, he did have appearances in the comic book. And of course, eventually he passes away of old age and is replaced by a son who takes over as the Timber, basically. I did get the second set, but I'll review that later because it's differently numbered. And when I review that set, I'll bring this one back out so we can compare. But for now, we'll just focus on this set. The Timber from the other set is completely white, instead of, gray-white like this one. So that makes it a good set to have, so you can have the two wolves. I basically use this as Timber, and the white one I use as Timber's son, so, in my display. But this is the Snake Eyes I have up in my display at the moment. This is my favorite version of Snake Eyes that they've released so far. When Mezco releases their Snake Eyes, which should be pretty soon, sometime in the next few months anyway. Who knows with Mezco, really. But he is the next slated for release. Their Snake Eyes. That one will probably replace this one on my shelf, and then this one will go back in the box. Although the Timber might stay out, because Super 7's version of Timber wasn't nearly as good as this one. This is a really good Timber figure. So, I don't know what Mezco's is going to be like, but it's got his work cut out for it to be as good as this one. So I might keep the Mezco Snake Eyes and this Timber on my shelf, unless Mezco's Timber is really good. Well, let's take a look at the box first. Similar to the Mutton Junkyard box, as you can see, just different colors, variations on the design and whatnot. You got the star in the background there. Snake Eyes and Timber Alpha Commandos. There's a picture of Snake Eyes. And on the back you got Timber there. And another picture of Snake Eyes. This is number 30 in the line. I got the window for the light. There's his file card info right there. Number 30. Legalese on the bottom. And then that massive collage photo on the back. There you can see all the different figures that we reviewed so far, or that I reviewed. And the only one we haven't done yet that's left on this box is the Alley Viper, I think. We've done a version of Roadblock, although we didn't do this one. And I've covered all the other characters now that are visible here. So yeah, the Alley Viper is the only one left. I've even covered the Trouble Bubble and the Hiss Tank. Can't cover the Dragonfly yet; it hasn't been released, but I will get to that when it does get released later this year. So I'm gonna go over Timber first, and this is Timber. He is a wolf, as you can see. You can probably tell. And his name is kind of a hint that he is a timber wolf. And just, this is a great sculpt. This is probably one of the best animal figures ever created for a 6-inch toy line, or for any toy line, maybe, possibly. I don't have a lot of experience with animal figures from other toy lines, but this is a really great figure. And you can see they did a good job with the paint. Got a nice dark coat on the top that blends nicely into the light underbelly. And also on the legs, kind of blends a little bit better over here than here. It kind of goes straight from dark to white, but blends a little bit better over here. No wolf genitalia, sorry for any wolf genitalia enthusiasts out there. He's got a nice big bushy tail, which is on a ball joint that also has a hinge on it, so that's cool. And he's got a few scars on his face there. So Timber keeps the pack in line. There isn't really a pack, he's a lone wolf, but in fact, if I remember correctly, Snake Eyes rescued him as a cub. So he is all alone. Snake Eyes found him, nursed him back to health, and raised him into adulthood. And he's been Snake Eyes' loyal companion ever since. I was very happy that when he did finally die in the comics, it was of old age. He had a lot of close calls throughout the years, including getting hit with an arrow at one point. I can't remember if it was Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow that shot him with an arrow, or one of the Red Ninjas. But again, it's been a while since I've read these stories, so they kind of all blend into my mind. Only a few of them really stand out. Not that they're bad. The other ones are bad. They're all pretty good. It's just some of them are more exciting than others. Yeah. So, for an animal pet, Timber has a lot of articulation, so let's take a look at that first. He can look up about that high, and he can look down about that far, but he also has extra articulation on the neck area there, so he can look up even higher if you move his neck around, and look down a little bit lower. He also has a articulation joint here at the waist, which he can move side to side there, and a little bit up and down. And he can move it around in a circle a bit. And even though he's an animal, he can do the Exorcist. And as I said, his tail has a ball joint with a hinge, so you can turn it side to side, and also have it go straight up or come down like that, or you can turn it and make it go even lower. You can set it up in different ways, however you see fit. His front legs can spread out about that far, and they can move in about that far. They can go all the way around like that. He also has a pinned it's pinless up at that joint. Single joint, pinless there. And then he's got a pinned joint down there. And then his paws are also on a hinge and swivel type deal there. Now he doesn't have peg holes on the bottom for stand, but he's got 4 legs, so you don't really need him. His rear legs also spread out like that, about that far, and move in about that far. He also has a single joint there. You can swivel it a little bit. And it's pinless. He's got a joint here that is pinned. And again, his feet are in a ball and swivel. Accessories-wise, he comes with 2 heads. He's got a nice, calm demeanor-looking head there. And then you can pop that off. And he's got this ferocious, growling head. Nice paint there. You can see the white in the teeth and the pink inside the mouth, as well as the black of the gums, which is really nicely done. The same scars are visible, which is good. His eyes are closed more, showing more of an angry look. And his ears are back. There's Timber. My only gripe with this figure is the inability to get him to in a sitting position. You know how dogs usually sit with their hind legs down on their butts, basically, and with their front legs standing. And wolves can do that as well, because they're basically dogs, just wild and bigger. But that's my only gripe about this figure. The articulation doesn't allow for that. But it's still a great figure. And I look forward to seeing many more awesome animal figures from Classified. Now let's take a look at Snake Eyes. And if you saw my review of the 788 Fire Team last week, then you'll recognize the vest. I was racking my brain trying to remember where I've seen the vest before. This is it. This is where the Cobra Hiss infantry soldier's vest came from. This is Snake Eyes' vest. So, there we go. As usual, Snake Eyes is all in black. That's his thing. He's got the mask with the goggles. The only color on the entire figure is on his grenade, which has got the G.I.Joe star and then a 00 there, which I believe is an homage to the fact that the original 00 figure in the line was Snake Eyes. It could also mean something else. I have no idea, but that was my interpretation of the 00 there anyway. He's got this kind of striped shirt underneath, sweater type thing. Black gloves, black vest, black pants, black boots with black shin guards, black knee pads, black elbow pads. He's got a couple of overlays. He's got the vest, of course. Then he has a holster for his pistol and suppressor on one leg and a knife sheath on the other. This version of Snake Eyes does not come with a sword. I think I mentioned that already. I prefer the Commando version, so that's why I got this one. Another reason why I got this one. I could have gotten the number 2 figure, which comes with a sword, but I chose to get this one instead. I could have gotten them both, but at that point in time, I was thinking I was only going to get one version of each figure, but that rule kind of fell by the wayside pretty quickly. So, this is Snake Eyes as Snake Eyes looks in almost all his iterations. The only difference being the texture of his costume, really, between different versions, and the design of his mask. So, looking at articulation, he can bury his chin pretty much. And he can look up about that high. An exorcist there. He's got some tilt. Nice tilt. His arm can go all the way around. He can hinge his shoulders up at a pretty little bit more than 90. Nice T-pose. He does have the bicep cut. Double jointed pinned arms. The horizontal hinge on the right hand and vertical on the left. Not much waist articulation because the vest gets in the way of the ab crunch. So you can get back about that far and go forward about that far. You can twist. Drop down hips. He is a ninja after all, so you're going to have trouble getting the right leg out too far because of the pouch on the belt there. And the gun holster, you have to move the leg to get it keep the gun holster from hitting the belt pouch. So he can do the Van Damme with the left leg, but not the right leg because of the belt and the pouch coming down there. He can kick out about that high, he can kick out that far. Double jointed pinned knees. He does have the thigh cut. He does have the boot cut. His foot goes back that far and goes forward about that far. He's got the rocker foot pegs on the bottom there. And for accessories, Snake Eyes comes with this kind of weird looking machine gun. Not like anything I've ever seen before. It does have a peg hole in it if you want to use blast effects. It does have a removable magazine. I usually just keep this in the packaging. I don't have any real use for this. He also comes with this submachine gun, which looks similar to a MP5, but not quite. Also has a peg hole in the front for blast effects and a removable magazine. And then he comes with his signature Uzi 9mm. No removable clip on this one, or magazine rather. And also no hole in the barrel for blast effects because the barrel is designed for the suppressor. And the suppressor goes on the end there. And unfortunately, even though the suppressor does look like it has a hole there, it's not very deep. Definitely not deep enough for a blast effect. So no can do there. No can do with blast effects for the Uzi, unfortunately. He also comes with this pistol. And again, no hole for blast effects because the suppressor also fits on the end of the pistol. And that pistol can slide into his holster here. And if you choose not to use the suppressor on the gun, you can slide it into that loop there, right in front of the hole of the pistol, rather. And lastly, he comes with this combat knife. And I gave mine, this is an all black knife originally, and I gave mine a nice chrome paint job on the blade there to make it look more like a knife. And he can slide that into his sheath there. Now this sheath is really tight, so you gotta be careful sliding that in there to keep it from bending or something like that. So that is G.I. Joe's signature character. Basically the Batman of the G.I. Joe franchise, or Superman, whoever you consider DC's signature character. Or Spider-Man, if you're a Marvel person. And the real star of this particular set is Timber. And like I said, there's another set that has Timber in all white. So if you don't like the gray version, you can get that set instead. I will be taking a look at that set a little later, but I'm going in numerical order, so it'll be a while before I get to that one yet. Next week, I'll be taking a look at, next in numerical order would be Zartan, Master of the Skies, but I'm not going to do a review of that one because even though I have it, I haven't opened it and I don't plan to. I like the version of Zartan. I have the regular standard release rather than the Comic-Con version. So I kept the Comic-Con version nice and sealed in storage. So I'm going to skip over him and go right to Barbecue. So the standard release version of Barbecue, not the Mad Marauders. So that'll be what we take a look at next Sunday. So comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you then.